Hello, everyone, and welcome to the TripleJump podcast. It's a video game podcast. My name is Peter.
And my name is Ashton.
How many times in a row can we have two people this time? Remember that spree that we had?
Yeah, where it was me and one of you for like 3-4 weeks.
3 or 4 weeks,
and then I had a week off.
Yeah.
So then there was only you and Ben. And then I think it was Ben, Kat, and James. I think it was...
Yeah, I think there was maybe like 1 week where all three of us were in, and then again, like after that, there were... It wasn't. So...
But Ben's not got holiday plops. Ben's just got regular plops.
Regular plops he has.
Week,
As you can hear, I've still got a tiny bit of plops, which... seemingly is, I don't know if it's the same plops because I've been away on holiday and therefore I've not been able to give it to Ben. I've not seen him for like over a week now.
No, he came in on Tuesday unwell and you hadn't seen him since Wednesday.
Yeah.
So,
but these plops get around, I guess. So we've all got it. Ashton's not had it yet.
No.
There's still time.
There is still time. Never say never.
So next week it'll probably be me and Ben doing the podcast and not Ashton. No, fingers crossed.
I wanted to show you guys something this morning.
Oh, yeah.
And I wore it especially because I found this T-shirt the other weekend. And I bought this like 4 years ago. And I bought it in Cyprus because my favorite thing on holiday is going to shops and seeing like the like English phrases that just like don't make any sense.
Okay.
And I found this one, and me and Ben have been trying to figure out what it means all week. So I'll let you read it.
Count the basic parts a man needs to wear and reach to 7. And the space between 2 and 7 isn't as big as all the other spaces as well, just for some reason.
Like, what does that mean?
Count the basic parts a man needs to wear and reach to 7.
What does that mean?
It's like someone's really badly translated some S Club 7 lyrics like into Japanese and then back into English again. Yeah,
but I thought I bought it and I was like, this top is... I think I saw it, I was like, this top's hilarious.
It's great.
I don't know what it means.
I take it you made it into a half shirt.
Yeah, I cut it, but I didn't do a very good job. I think I cut it when like the pandemic was happening and then lost it for 2 years. So I haven't actually done the whole like sewing it to make it nice.
Hemming it or whatever the word would be.
But I wanted to show you it because I think it's funny.
That's great. I really like that.
And I wanted to see if anyone knew what it meant.
Have you got any more of them at home?
I have another one, but I had one. I don't know where it is anymore. I had one that was like sand in the sky, sea in the something, like sea on the grass, and I was like, what does that mean?
It's great. I love it. I don't care.
So
wow.
I love them. I think they're great.
Well, this is a video game podcast.
It is a video game
but
podcast.
I very much appreciate that. We're sponsored each and every week on this video game podcast by a very real sponsor. Yes, I've got the ad read this week.
Do you?
It's for a video game that's coming out pretty soon, actually. It's highly anticipated, probably going to be one of the biggest PlayStation games of the year. It's a sequel to a game. It's about like this bloke and his kid. They're like wandering around and they're on a trip to do something. I think it's something to do with, when you go on like a writer's retreat.
Yeah.
And you just, because you just want to like get away from technology and stuff. So like, I think it's him and his son and maybe some ashes they're carrying around. I don't really know. Go off to try and
like a wilderness experience. Get back into nature.
Exactly. To try and get a bit of inspiration. Because I think the dad's like an author or something. Anyway, there's a new one coming out. God of War Writer's Block is coming pretty soon. And it's going to be really good. Could you tell that maybe I had writer's block this morning and didn't know...
I thought it was good. I was wondering how you were going to fit that in.
Yeah.
Because I was like, God of War?
Yeah.
God of Pen? What were you going to say here? No, that's good. I'm excited. When's it coming out?
Like November sometime, I don't know. When is it actually? It's like is it the 30th?
It's the 9th.
16th? I don't 9th?
Yeah, it's coming out in like less than a week.
Just throwing random numbers out there. 30th, 16th, the 9th.
The 9th.
Okay.
The 9th.
Very good. It's not real.
Oh.
I was struggling, but I managed to come up with that. But we are sponsored, really, by our patrons, our wonderful patrons over at patreon.com, who for as little as $1 per month are able to ask questions on this very podcast. They can also do something else, can't they, Ashton, which is coming up later on. But
they can do, yeah. But we'll talk about that later.
We'll talk about that later on. So we've got a question now from Gregory, who says... Have I done all the intro bits? I feel like I may have missed something.
But... I think so. I think we've done patreon.com/team TripleJump.
Yeah, done that. Done the fake sponsor, the real sponsor.
The preamble, the intro. Yeah, I think we've got everything.
We're nailing it.
Yeah.
Gregory says, hello, Bap, or Randy's. Oh, I missed this last week.
You did. You missed us both.
I saw a screenshot of it. Yeah, I was off. But I mean, in a way, that was good because there were only 2 Randy shirts. So there would have been just an odd one out. If
That's true. It would have been like Randy, and also Spyro.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the only thing I've got to hand as well because I've almost moved into my new house, but I do have my Spyro onesie to hand because I was like, I might just need that for something at work. So I would have been Spyro for sure. Anyway, I hope you're doing well. My question for you might be a little cliche, so much so I'm not even sure if it hasn't been asked already, but here goes anyway. First contact has been achieved with an alien species who threaten humanity's survival. You're tasked with saving humanity by choosing a game that best demonstrates what makes humanity so great. What game would you end up picking? Would it be something that shows the vast storytelling potential of humanity like The Last of Us or Disco Elysium? Or would you instead pick a game like Mario Kart, Spyro or Crash, as they, in their innocence, have brought joy to so many across the globe? Many thanks. Winters in Berlin. Thank you, Gregory. Winters in Berlin.
Thank you, Gregory, who winters in Berlin.
Ashton, would you like to go first? Because I've done a lot of talking already.
Yeah, of course can. I was talking about this in the office, and they were like, "Oh, we could show them like." We wouldn't want to show them things like XCOM or something like that because you don't want them to think that like, we are setting out to kill aliens. We don't want to give them ideas.
XCOM would be the worst thing to show them.
Exactly. And also we were saying like, you don't want to show them Mass Effect because there's a couple of scenes in that they might get the wrong idea. They might think you're coming onto them. So you're like, oh no, just want to show this. So you wouldn't want to go for that. And I also don't think Mario Kart is a good idea because if you annoy the aliens, they could destroy the world.
If you blue shell the alien.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You'd have to lose. So I was thinking, what's the best thing about humans? Easy. Animals.
Right.
Pets.
The best thing about humans is just a different species entirely.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think it would be good to show something like Stray. Because you're like, look how cute this cat. You don't want to take over this world. Look how cute this cat is.
Yeah.
So cute. And cats, what do they love? Pets from humans. So don't get rid of us, because...
And the thing with Stray is, it's got that kind of sad tinge to it that like, oh, there used to be humans here and now there aren't. Gone. And the cats are sad, the robots are sad, and the aliens will think, we best not eradicate humanity because otherwise this will happen. Yeah.
But the issue is then that they might see that and be like, there's moral of the story is that humans were greedy and that's why this whole situation happened. But then you could say that, well, actually every game that happens.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, it's true.
Yeah, it's a universal truth.
Yeah. Alternatively, I would show them a game that I think is the epitome of a cozy game and just get them to like sit down, relax.
Do a bit of unpacking.
I didn't think unpacking, but that's a good one. Stardew Valley.
Oh yeah.
I'd be like, just hang out with all these little mates, get some chickens, plant some crops, see how we humans live, and then while they're playing that, I'll sneak off because they'll get really into it like people do, and they won't talk for like hours. So I just sneak off, do some recon on the ship.
Yeah.
Report back to humans being like, actually, I think we should just let them calm down. They seem kind of like good guys.
Pretty chill, yeah.
And they love cats, so we'll let them hang out.
Do you think they would pick the cat rather than the dog on Stardew Valley? You have to choose, don't you?
Yeah, you have to choose. Yeah. I don't know. I think they would pick cats.
Yeah.
But purely because I think that like
you've already shown them Stray.
I'd already shown them Stray, and they don't know what dogs are. So
yeah. Okay. I've picked something a bit more kind of vague, a bit more all-purpose. In that I've decided, well, if we gave them a copy of Dreams, that would give them a really big kind of broad view of what humans are capable of. So they would see some like amazing artwork. I bet there's some really like genuinely compelling narratives made on Dreams out there. They would obviously need some sort of internet connection so they can download loads of user created content. But yeah, if they just sort by best, then I think that would be a really good way to just show off the abilities of humanity, like this is what we're capable of doing, and also just sort of the values of humanity and stuff.
And then they'd stumble upon
the quest for cheese.
The quest for cheese.
Yeah.
And then they'd be like, what? is this?
Yeah,
and then you'd have to sit there and explain to them all of the in-depth memes that are involved.
Yeah, so this is Wallace, and it would be. That's the thing. You'd be worried that maybe they would come across something where you're killing aliens, or that's the risk. But hopefully, if they saw some of the the greatest achievements in Dreams and some of the most beautiful and heartwarming things, then that would be enough to save us. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, it's time for a segment now. We're powering through this podcast that we started last week. Me and Randy, we came up with it. It's called What We Playin'.
Oh.
It's What We're Playing time. Time to talk about what we're playing. Peter Austin,
yeah.
What have you been playing this week?
Ashton Matthews, since I was on the last podcast, I've spent almost all of my time either out of the country or with having moved my PlayStation to my new house, but currently living in my old house or Airbnb. So I have actually played nothing since I last did a What We Playin'. Which is a brand new section, of course. So, apart from what I've played on stream, so I'm just going to talk about that. I don't normally like to do that unless, sometimes I play the game on stream and play it at home, in which case I do talk about it. But I'll just talk about what I've streamed, which was kind of interesting this week because I also didn't play anything on that stream.
I was wondering what you were going to say then.
But I was going to talk about what I played last time, but I'm actually desperately trying to remember what it was. But I did watch some weird Halloween stuff on my most recent stream, so you can go and
40 Winks, wasn't that?
That's it. I played 40 Winks. Thanks, Ashton. I'm glad you're here.
Okay.
I played 40 Winks, which I tell you what is a lot harder to play than I remember it being. So I never owned. My first experience of that game was I played it on a demo disc, right? So there was like the first couple of levels you could play them, and then I remember having definitely not an official copy of the game, right? So it was either possibly a standalone demo disc for the game. It was in this like thin case, not like a big jewel case, like a PlayStation 1 jewel case. Or it may have been like a promo copy that like had gone to a press outlet and was then just sold on like a market stall or something, and like somehow ended up with it. But anyway, I only ever played a few hours of that game. And going back to it, wow, the controls are slippery as hell. There's this really weird momentum system where you just like you push your thumbstick in one direction and they really have to sort of build themselves up to a running speed. And then when you let go, there's a sort of a slide. It's almost like you're constantly on ice.
You've got a bowl with your character.
Yeah, pretty much. So that was wonky as hell. And I picked that because it was, semi-Halloween-y. And I said at the time that I may only be playing this week. Like, don't get too comfortable, everyone. I'm not necessarily playing this in full. But I was open to playing it in full if it was going to turn out to be an interesting enough game. I like it aesthetically, but I'm not playing that game all the way through. It's borderline unplayable. I was dying all the time. You have like 3 lives, and then you just game over.
Oh, good.
So you have to make sure you're saving all the time. And it's a massive collectathon, and I'm not doing it. So that's what I've been playing. I love how I was like, I'll just talk about what I streamed. And I was like, oh, hang on now. I just watched kids' TV instead. So there you go. I'm moving into a new house now, and we'll hopefully be able to play some more stuff. But I'll play some more Plague Tale. I kind of want to play God of War a little bit before I play the next one. Yeah, which I have played before, but it's just been a while. And then there's things like Last of Us as well, which I still want to play. So lot to do. Ashton, what have you been playing?
I have also had a weird week of gaming because I spent the weekend in Leicester for Halloween. And then MB's been in Newcastle the last few days. So I've been able to play just your standard, video games that you can play when no one's around.
Yeah.
Because I felt like, you have to play together.
Yeah, you can't make him sit there.
Like,
You've not seen him
quietly and I'll play my game, please. So I've been playing some Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Been playing some of that in split screen and mainly against bots. because for some reason he hadn't renewed his PlayStation Plus account, so we couldn't play online. I said, renew your account while I'm at work, please. So we've been playing a little bit of that, and the bots thing is really annoying because you can only play on 3 maps.
Really?
Like out of all of the maps, they're only like, you can only have 3.
That's weird.
Which is completely unnecessary. The bots are pretty good though, to be fair. Like the AI on the bots is, I mean, they beat us multiple times in regular. So I was like, it's embarrassing. We're being beaten by actual robots. But yeah, they're pretty good. And the game, like, again, looks really good. And if you're a fan of a Call of Duty game, it's your standard Call of Duty.
Yeah.
I still prefer the third-person mode over the first-person mode in the multiplayer online stuff. And there was one match we played where it was like capture the flag, and someone was like sat on the laying on the floor with a sniper, like right by one of the points, and he kept killing me. And I knew where he was, so I kept going round the corner and just killing him before he could kill me. I didn't capture any flags. We still lost, but I beat that guy, and I was like, I don't care what's going on. I died after killed him every single time, but it was worth it because he was annoying me so much that I made it my mission to like ruin his life.
You're the kind of person I would get like moderately frustrated with when I was playing objective-based games on Halo. I'd be like, why aren't people going for the hill? And it's just like there's someone on the lead on our team who's got like 60 kills, but they're just not contributing to the objective at all. But hey, that's fine, Ashton. You do you.
Thanks. And then played some Overwatch because he's been trying to get me to play Overwatch since the new one came out, and I don't want to. I didn't want to play it because I don't like online games. I don't like when other people make me play games online. It upsets me. But we played some Overwatch, mainly against bots because I didn't know how to play Overwatch. I played maybe like 2 games ever, so I was learning all the characters and figuring out who to play as. I don't want to play as any of the boy characters. I kept being like, I could play as a boy, or I could just play as a girl character. I'm going to play as a girl character. And then we played the Halloween story mission that they've put in, which is like a co-op mission.
Right.
That was pretty good. Enjoyed that. Played with 2 other people, strangers, and I muted my mic and I didn't want to talk to them. And then we played some online games. And I said, and I quote, this game's much better when no one else is playing it, because I was getting very upset because I was a tank and I kept getting killed and I couldn't do anything. And I was getting actually annoyed. And I said, I don't want to play this game anymore. I was enjoying it when it was just me and Ben against the bots, but now not interested anymore.
No, that's it.
Play it. So he's ruined it for himself by making me play online. Basically.
So while he is still here, are you just going to have to keep playing Overwatch and Call of Duty?
I might have to,
stuff? Yeah.
Because he's enjoying it. But it's only tonight, and then we're back in Peterborough tomorrow. But
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So hopefully next week I'll be able to play my games again.
It's like you're always looking forward to him coming up, like you miss him and stuff, and then he arrives and you're like, oh, damn. Now I've got to play Overwatch.
I was like, I want to play Saints Row, but you're here, so we can't play it together. Yeah. Yeah, but hey, guess I love him.
I suppose. You need him to bring up his own console and a TV, and then you can sit in the same room and play online together,
the plan.
Local games.
He brought a PlayStation 4 up with him, and then it's just sat next to the TV, and I'm like, we could plug that in, I guess, but you know, hopefully soon there'll be 2 TVs, and we can both play our single player games next to each other as true relationships do.
Yeah, that's right.
It's time for question 2, I think.
It is.
Comes from Stookalicious. All right, Bap. I'm sure you've covered which films you think would make potentially good games, but I'm not sure you covered what TV shows you'd like to adapt. Personally, I think Garth Marenghi's Dark Place game could be very enjoyable. Hope you're all doing well.
Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. I was like thrown by that in the question. I'm aware of. Are you aware of Garth Marenghi's Dark Place?
No.
It's a very strange sitcom, if you can call it. Well, not even sitcom. It's a comedy with this sort of dark place. It's got a strange tone to it. I've only seen a few episodes. I went around to someone's house and they showed it to me. I think it's set in a hospital, if I remember rightly, and it's just very odd. I can't think of the guy's name, the actor, but he's in like the UK Office. He's like the IT guy in that. What else has he been in? Anyway, it's a strange show, and the idea of it being a video game adaptation is interesting. Could work. Who's to say?
Who's to say? Make it and we'll see.
Depends on the genre. I think like certain genres it would like apply really well to, but it couldn't really be a third-person action-adventure game, I don't think. What could be a third-person action-adventure game, though?
Yeah.
I've got The Mandalorian written down here.
Oh, that's a good one.
I think it could be pretty good. So famously or infamously, there was going to be a Star Wars game called Star Wars 1313, which was set in the sub-levels of Coruscant in the kind of dirty underbelly. And that went through various iterations. Apparently, LucasArts were not doing well at the time. And I don't know if George Lucas had a hand in it and was making them change stuff, or if they were just making random changes at the time. But they, at one point, were going to make, I think, Jango Fett, the protagonist, maybe Boba Fett.
I think it was, I did a list, I think it's Boba Fett.
Oh, was it Boba Fett? Okay. But yeah, so it was going to be, you were going to be a Mandalorian bounty hunter in Coruscant, which sounds really cool. And of course, there was the Jango Fett game, Star Wars Bounty Hunter, that one was called, yeah, where you did just play as Jango and go around like collecting bounties. But that has not aged very well, that game. I played it a couple of years ago, and it's not aged particularly well. But something like The Mandalorian, where you wouldn't even necessarily have to play as Mando and like have to worry about Grogu, and like, because he's very much on a path at the moment. Like he's got his own narrative going on, and I think it wouldn't really make sense for him to be doing anything other than like what he's doing at the moment in the story. So therefore, I don't know if that would necessarily translate that well into a game. So I think it would either have to be set pre-season 1, where he's just a really good bounty hunter and it's just him, no Grogu, he's going around just like collecting bounties, or you could have it set around that time and you could maybe like meet him occasionally on your adventures, but actually you like create your own bounty hunter, maybe like either a Mandalorian or not a Mandalorian, and that you're part of the guild. If you were like not going to be a Mandalorian, you could just be any old character and you're part of that guild, or you could maybe make a Mandalorian character and be part of the covert, did they call it? Led by the armorer.
Yeah.
I'm talking as though everyone listening knows what I'm talking about, but maybe they don't. But anyway, I think a Star Wars game where he plays a bounty hunter, set roughly in or around the Mandalorian, if only for the selling power. I mean, you could set it any time. I'd still play it, but like I think to tie it in with the successful show, I think that could be really cool.
I think it could be really cool too.
Yeah, all right.
I think so.
I'm going to look up a bit of info on Dark Place.
Yeah.
While you tell us what you think should be made as a game.
Cool. So on Netflix recently, there was, I think it's Neil Gaiman, Sandman. I think is by Neil Gaiman.
Yeah. Sandman is, yeah.
Sandman. And that came out on Netflix recently, and I thought it was really good. Full disclaimer, haven't finished the series yet. Got distracted halfway through. It's not my fault. It is. But I think it could be really cool to see a story that's set in like that same storyline where you play as the Sandman and you gradually gain your powers back by collecting the things that you need to collect to be your most powerful self. There's obviously bits where he's in the real world and there's bits where he's in hell. So that's exciting. And then you've got the whole dream plane that he is the king of, which could be really cool, I think, to like explore different areas and have that storyline going underneath. And you play as a Sandman. What's not as fun?
What's not to love?
Yeah. Also, what I think they should make more games of. Recently, I played Prognostic, which is like a horror game where you're in a house and you're like a medium kind of person and you're trying to solve crimes to try and figure out who killed your parents and your grandma. But I really liked the whole like solving crime element of that game. I was like indifferent to the ghost. They made it more interesting, but I was like, the ghost could be here or not. I'm just having fun solving crimes. I think there should be more like crime solving, crime drama-esque TV shows. Because we know I love, not TV show, games. Because we know I love a crime drama TV show.
We do.
So I would love there to be more video games where I have to solve crimes by finding clues and figuring things out. Because there's just not enough.
We did play CSI: 3 Dimensions of Murder for worst games ever once. But that was at a time where there probably were a few more crime drama video games, but they were all bad. But now I think we have the technology. We could do it. a lot better.
I think we could. I think there's like a lot of scope for it because obviously there would only be a certain amount of like stories. There probably wouldn't be too much replayability, but that's never stopped games.
Yeah.
There's a whole game about escape rooms that you can't play again because all the puzzles are exactly the same the second time round. So
yeah.
Why can't we make a crime drama one?
Come on. Do it. It could like change every time. Like when you replay it, maybe someone else did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Matthew Holness is the man I was talking about.
What does he look like?
He looks like that. I mean, that's not a very good picture of him. Hang on, if we go back, might see him. There he is. He's in the office.
Oh, I do not know who that man is.
No, I mean he's not. The show is like more from like his heyday, which is I've just closed the flipping tab now. Hang on, Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. You see him less now than you used to, I think. So the first episode was in 2004, and here we go. I'll tell you what it is. Flipping, come on. Let's get there. We were there. I've got it. The series is presented as a special release of the fictional television series Dark Place. So it's a parody of 1980s soap opera, which is kind of strange.
Okay.
So within the canon of the show, Dark Place was produced in the 1980s but failed to gain an audience anywhere but Peru, eventually becoming a lost series. Saved footage has recently resurfaced, with Marenghi, who made the show in the first place, republishing with the intent of gaining interest from a modern audience. But it's this very strange, deliberately cheesy, weird show set in a hospital, I think. So yeah, Richard Ayoade's in it as well. And Matt Berry too. So it's got a good cast.
I've never heard of it before.
I had to look it up because, as I say, I've only seen like 3 episodes. But yeah, seeing that in video game form would be interesting. Maybe as a sort of telltale game or something. That could be pretty good.
You could say it would be a bit weird.
It would.
News.
Weird news time. It's time for some weird video game news. But before we get to the weird video game news, it's time to say hello and thank you and do a shout out to our podcast producer and goodbye to our podcast producers who for a certain price have headed to patreon.com and signed up to the podcast producer tier. Lots of other awards available within that tier and below it and above it. But if you want a guaranteed shout out in every single episode of the podcast, then go and become a podcast producer if you want. You can, of course, ask questions and maybe get your question read, but these people get their name every time.
They do.
For as long as they're a producer.
For as long as they live.
Yes, forever. You pay once, you get it every episode. No, that's not true. So thank you very much to Nathan,
GY Goliath,
Sean Legg,
Walco,
Nicole Hansen,
Nexus Polaris,
Ellie Nicholas,
Erica Hutchinson,
Melody Elbonette,
Katie Garrett/Jared,
and Gabrielle Philippink.
Thanks, podcast producers.
Thank you very much.
We love you.
It's time for some weird news.
Time for some weird news. You can submit some weird news on Facebook or Twitter when the post goes out. Normally on a Tuesday. So if you find some weird news, head on over there. Send it to us. Maybe we'll read it out on the podcast.
Just like Gex at SnowyBoyYarnio4 on Twitter, who sent us, but I chose it, a story from pushsquare.com. Sony accidentally sends God of War Ragnarok PS5 bundle to customer.
Lucky.
Yeah, subtitle. They'd actually ordered Modern Warfare 2. This was written by Liam Croft.
But they wouldn't even appreciate it because they ordered the COD one.
Yeah.
They were like, ooh, rubbish game.
I don't want to buy my copy of God of War. I don't want to play it. If it's not independent retailers breaking the release date of God of War Ragnarok, it's Sony itself. At Rashida A. Smith on Twitter has posted in response to a Wario64 tweet that they received the God of War Ragnarok PS5 console bundle from Sony via a PlayStation Direct order instead of one containing Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. The user shared a picture of the outer box, proving they do indeed have the official bundle in their hands. This isn't a special edition version of the PS5 console or anything. It's literally just a standard system with a code for God of War Ragnarok inside. Oh, it's a code, so I bet they can't even redeem it. I bet if they redeem it, probably won't.
Might be able to.
Well, possibly.
I imagine like if you get like codes earlier access to it,
yeah,
it probably is the same code you'd get if it was just.
No, that's true because you wouldn't get your maybe they can. Well, I might say in the article.
Can't wait to find out.
Just wait with bated breath. Since it's here we go. The very next sentence. Since it's a code for the digital PS5 version, we'll presume it will translate to a pre-order for the game off the PS Store if it's redeemed before release date on the 9th of November 2022.
Rubbish.
No leaks should come out of this slip-up. Phew. That's what it says. Over the weekend, Santa Monica Studios shared a statement with the community asking fans to mute keywords and phrases to try and limit any spoilers they might see. The developer itself is trying to, quote, limit the exposure of unsanctioned footage, but it knows this is the internet, so it knows it cannot catch everything. No key details should get out through this unfortunate leak, but continue to stay alert and be careful with your online browsing. Have you ever ordered something from Sony and had a completely different product turn up, perhaps even an unreleased one?
No.
Let us know in the comments below. Oh, well.
I haven't. Have you?
No. I don't think I've ever physically ordered anything directly from Sony.
No, actually.
Or from what was it, PlayStation Direct. No, I normally just get it from
wholesalers, retailers.
Yeah, Amazon or something, which I shouldn't do, but I do. And the independent game shop that I used to go to as a child closed down over 10 years ago.
Also, lots of independent game shops don't have PlayStation 5s.
No.
Because lots of non-independent game shops don't have PlayStation 5s.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that's true.
Because no one has PlayStation 5s except Sony.
Just Sony. So if you want one, order one, and you might get a code for God of War with it. Who's to say?
I want to know if they tried to cash it in and if it worked.
Yeah. I mean,
because they just assumed that it wouldn't work.
Yeah, they've not said whether it would. They're like, oh, it probably will translate into a pre-order. But you make a good point that, like, when we get sent codes for stuff ahead of time by PR and stuff, and they're like, here's an early code, and if you redeem it, it immediately just gives you the game.
Yeah.
But maybe all codes associated with God of War have like maybe they know, like Santa Monica is saying, like, well, we're not even going to let the press see the game until 5 days before.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we know that they've obviously sent review codes and stuff out. So
well, yeah, true.
So
how do you differentiate? Well, maybe there are
different
review codes
sets.
And like retail codes, and
some
they're able
maybe
to
are activated,
control them that way. Yeah, hopefully. But yeah, seemingly nothing has come out yet based on this.
Would you tell people if that happened? If they accidentally sent you a copy of God of War, would you tell anyone about it? I think I probably would. If it was
a code and it didn't work, I'd probably redeem it first, see what happened. And if it didn't work, I would then just like at least sell the story for, 50 quid. And then
buy Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, which is what I really wanted.
Could do that. But if it was a physical copy, I would be scared that maybe they would try and do some sort of recall. I don't think they would have the power to do that, but I wouldn't want to
come to your house.
Yeah.
Give me the God of War disc back.
John Sony might come round with some goons. So I might just stay quiet and just sit at home and just play God of War all by myself. Just like when I unwrapped, well, it wasn't wrapped, but when I got my Christmas present, played it for 2 hours and then put it back.
Yeah.
Ashton, have you got some weird news?
I do. It comes from Joach Dix on Facebook. This was submitted by a bunch of different people, but this was the write-up that I chose. So don't be angry with me if you also submitted it.
Do be angry.
No, please. It comes from The Escapist by Richard Hogue.
Hogue?
Hogue? H-O-E-G?
H-O-E-G. Hogue?
I don't know. Can Ikea actually shut down a survival horror game set in, well, an Ikea? Our Kickstarter. What was started as a platform for creators of all stripes to realise their dreams has become a platform for creators of all stripes to learn more than they could ever possibly want to know about intellectual property law, particularly copyright and trademark. Such is the case for game designer Jacob Shaw, going by the studio name of Ziggy, and his first-person department store survival project, The Store Is Closed, which has caught the eye of Swedish furniture store Ikea, as set forth in a letter received by Shaw and verified by Kotaku. The lawyers at Ikea have taken objection to his project based primarily on the belief that the store depicts The store depicted in his games infringes on the company's trade dress.
Trade dress?
Yeah.
Is that what you wear on Sundays to the market? Your trade dress?
In particular, they allege, your game uses a blue and yellow sign with a Scandinavian name on the store, a blue box-like building, yellow vertical stripes shirts identical to those worn by IKEA personnel, a grey path on the floor, furniture that looks like IKEA furniture, and product signage that looks like IKEA signage. He's been almost IKEA'd it. Like the store is called Sick or something, but it's SYKK or something, and it does look a lot like IKEA.
I have seen it, and if he just changed it a bit more, he could have got away with it. But okay.
But, and importantly, the claims made by everyone's favourite Swedish meatball purveyor, masquerading as a furniture retail outlet, are not rooted in copyright, which involves the rights associated with protecting creative works, those most commonly at issue in video games. That's just nothing about nothing.
So I guess trade dress is visual. It's sort of branding and stuff.
They've involved trademark. Trademark protects the names, logo, look, and feel of a brand or company in order to help customers identify who is providing them with goods or services. It is special because, unlike with copyright, a company that feels its trademarks are being infringed upon is incentivized by law to act upon this infringement. Basically, they're allowed to do that. Then they explain what the word trade dress is, but can't be asked to read that. And then the question becomes, is what the store is closed doing too close for comfort? Would a reasonable person think that the game itself was endorsed or created by IKEA? And it does look like IKEA. It looks fun though.
Yeah, so I assume this was inspired by a sort of a creepypasta that someone posted online. There's a short horror story. I was reading it on Reddit or something months ago, where it's someone who was in an IKEA and then they sort of get lost, and then suddenly they can't find their way out again, and they discover that they're in an infinite IKEA.
Yeah.
And at nighttime they hear people running around, and eventually they find a settlement of people who've built a fort out of sofas and stuff. People go out on raids during the day to get meatballs and things, and that's how they're surviving. But then it just gets more and more haunting, and people just go mad and kill each other. So it's a good story, and clearly this is sort of inspired by that, I think. So it's a shame because it would make a good horror game, I think.
Yeah.
And maybe it still will make a good horror game. They'll just have to change it.
Everything that's blue to being red.
Yeah.
Then it would be fine.
I think you would have got away. I mean, I am no legal expert, but having seen other things where it's clearly they're imitating a brand in some other game or something, if you just change it enough, it's like copying your homework. Don't make it obvious.
Yeah.
It just mix it up a bit. So it's unfortunate, but
also all IKEA have done now is brought this game to everyone's attention, because this game, none of us had heard of it.
No.
And now there was 4 different write-ups of this story submitted to Weirdest News, because it's now everyone's talking about it. This guy's probably got way more people wishlisting his game now. I wishlisted his game because I thought it looked cool.
Yeah.
So
is the Kickstarter still running? Because he might have got more money as well.
I think the Kickstarter's still going, but he was saying that he was it's not in the write-up, but he was saying that he was planning on focusing on refining things, and now he's got to change the look of the whole game.
Right.
But I don't know where they draw the line, because if you have grey floors and sell furniture in a shop, would that be okay as long as the name was 5 letters long and red?
Yeah.
Would that be allowed?
Probably.
Where do you draw
I think
the line?
that's it's difficult. I mean, like I say, we're not qualified to say where the line is, but you're right. It's tricky. I followed someone, and this was an outright copyright issue, but I've been following someone who was making their own Spyro game in the style of a PS1 Spyro game. It looked almost identical. And eventually Activision came after them and said, that's Spyro. Are you using Spyro sound effects? Are you using Spyro, his likeness? It was just a model of Spyro. And they've basically just changed it into a flying fox character and just mixed everything up as much as they need to and carried on with the project. And that's fine. So it doesn't have to be the end for this project necessarily, provided he can work out where the line is and what's okay. So fingers crossed it goes all right for him. But yeah.
Sorry, IKEA. We want to all get killed in your stores.
Yeah.
Sorry about it. Question 3, Peter.
Yes, it's from Rock Reese, who says, "Hi, Bab.
Hi.
It's so sad to see the degradation and BA's disappointment in the last board. What's BA?
Ben and Ashton.
Oh, right. Oh, Ba. Right. It's so sad to see the degradation and Ba's disappointment in the last Borderlands games, especially Tales of, as Ben loved the first one so much. In light of
he doesn't like the new one.
Well, that's news to me.
He said it was bad.
Oh no.
He said that the game works and he can play it, but it is in fact bad.
Like technically or like
technically
story
like works great, but story wise and like character wise and joke wise bad.
Oh no.
And then he tried to play it on stream last week, and he played it for an hour, and everyone in chat was like, can we play something else?
Oh god, were they really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, in light of the downwards trend of the Borderlands franchise, as briefly just well, that is just one sentence that Rock Grease has written, but let me start again. But this is Rock Grease's fault. It's so sad to see the degradation and Bar's disappointment in the last Borderlands games, especially Tales of, as Ben loved the first one so much, full stop. In light of the downwards trend of the Borderlands franchise, as briefly discussed last week, full stop. Has there ever been any other game franchise? Sorry, that's very rude of me. Has there ever been any other game franchise that hasn't changed a whole lot, but gradually pushed you away or declined to the point where you're struggling to care? Thank you, Rock Reese.
Thank you, Rock Reese.
Sorry for being rude to you there. It's not very nice.
Sorry Peter was bullying you.
Yeah, you paid $1 to ask that question, and I was mean about it. It's a good question, though.
It is.
So I've got one that I don't think has necessarily got bad, not got any worse, but I think I have maybe changed, or it's just I've become less interested in it for reasons that I can't necessarily quantify. But I used to be a big fan of Call of Duty.
Yeah, that's on my list as well.
Oh, is it? Yeah. So particularly like the very early Call of Duty games. I never played the first one, but I played a lot of Call of Duty 2, local split screen multiplayer with just like people in my family, like my siblings and my uncle who played a lot of video games, played it with friends. I really liked the single player story as well. I wish that game was still just accessible anywhere. I don't think it's on Game Pass, but I'd love to play that game just for the campaign alone. I think it was really good. So really enjoyed that. Call of Duty 3 did actually drop off a little bit in terms of quality, but we played plenty of that in multiplayer as well. And then, a couple of games after that as well, I continued to play it in terms of particularly couch split screen. And then suddenly I just didn't really care anymore. And it's difficult to say what the reasoning is, because my first thought is, well, is it because I really like World War II games, which I did. Like I enjoyed Medal of Honor as well, a lot of Medal of Honor games at the time. But the first Modern Warfare game is not the point at which I stopped enjoying it. I thought the first Modern Warfare was really good. And, a couple of games after that, I still played it. But then eventually I did just not play it so much anymore. But then I could say the same about Halo, like I used to really, really enjoy playing Halo, both single player and multiplayer. And then eventually I stopped. That I do think partly is down to what I view to be a decline in the quality of the game series. But I think also it's just indicative that I guess I reached a point where I didn't want to play first person shooters anymore. So I definitely think Call of Duty was probably the one that was most badly affected by that. Because I probably gave Halo more of a chance for a longer period of time. But yeah, for me, I think it's more the first part of Rock Reese's question, which is a game that or a series that gradually pushed you away rather than declined to the point. Because I think most people would say, all right, it's had its ups and downs, Call of Duty, but it's not now in like a really low place compared to where it was, around the first Modern Warfare game, for example. So they've not declined in that sense, but I just don't play it anymore.
That's true. I think that also, I don't know what it is. I feel like eventually you kind of just grow out of Call of Duty. And I know some people are like older and they do still play it, but I think that it gets to a point where you're like, I need a game that I can quantify when the beginning and the end of the game is, so that I can just be like, well, I finished this game now. I'm done with it. But whereas Call of Duty, you can just play it forever.
Yeah.
But I do think also Call of Duty is a bit hit and miss. Like sometimes they release good games, like Modern Warfare 2, I would say is a good game. but then they release games like Vanguard, and I would objectively say that game is not a good game.
Yeah, it's had definitely some low points in the series.
For sure. But in terms of franchises that I think I've dropped off of even Assassin's Creed.
Yeah,
there was some really good ones in there, and then the more they released, the more like the further it got into an Ubi world, the further it got from like what made the first one so good. And now it's just a huge, ginormous map with nothing to do with assassins, really, apart from the odd like side quest. The modern storyline just completely like lost the vast majority of players. Like nobody knows what's going on and nobody cares anymore. So I think Assassin's Creed lost its way a good few years ago, and they keep pumping them out though, don't they? And we keep bloody trying to play them and then never finishing them. Especially Valhalla was just way too big in terms of a game. But also, I didn't read the question properly and wrote Borderlands down because I was like, what series? Oh, Borderlands. Yeah. And must have read the question and been like, Borderlands, was as if I hadn't just read that word 10 seconds ago. But I do think that that's definitely dropped off in the last few games.
Yeah.
They're really struggling to find their footing, and I'm struggling to justify the Borderlands series as a good game series now because of the last 3 installments into that Borderlands cinematic universe.
It's a real fall from grace, isn't it?
It
is. They had such highs.
The highs of 2, and I think the pre-sequel was really good as well.
Yeah.
And then 3 came out and it was all right. You know, people I liked it in places and I thought it fell flat in places. Then Wonderlands came out and we know how I feel about that. And then Tales of the Borderlands came out and I'm not interested in playing it anyway. And Ben has not sold me on it. So, yeah. I do think that that's lost their way. Some of the lads were saying FIFA. They're not as good anymore. And I bet Ben would say WWE 2K.
Yes, definitely.
For sure.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a bunch out there that we've got like fond memories of. But now it's just not.
There's one that the only reason I didn't say it is because I don't think there are enough sort of data points, as it were, for me to say, here's the trend. But Fallout, I really liked Fallout 3. New Vegas is great. But then from 4 onwards, Fallout 4 and Fallout 76, they've dropped off for me. But that's only kind of 4 games. So is that really, can you properly track a trend on that? But if you maybe lump in together Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim as well. So just sort of the Bethesda RPGs, then I would definitely feel that way about that. And Starfield as well. At the moment, I'm not actually that excited about because it just seems too big, very bloated. I don't even like the aesthetic that much in the trailer. I thought all right, graphically it looks reasonably impressive, but it doesn't look really appealing to me. And I'll just have to. I think I'm going to have to see a fair bit of gameplay of that game and see some. I hope they do some big trailers, which they often do with games like that. Bethesda are quite good at saying here's a 15-minute gameplay, cycle of what you can do from day to day. So we'll see how that goes. But those RPGs are not.
I also think it's on a bit of an up now, but I do think Resident Evil took a bit of a dive.
Yeah, it did.
There.
Yeah,
and I don't think that Village is as good as 7. I think that it tried to be on the same level as 7 was.
Yeah.
But I do think 7 was better than 8. And I think 2 and 3 are better than 4, 5. Well, not 4, 5 and 6 for sure.
Yeah. 2 and 3 are, I think, were an improvement on 5 and 6. Yeah. And then 7's a great game. And I think 8 is, Village is good, but they're very different, aren't they? It's a bit like how you had your first 3 Resident Evil games, which were survival horror, and then you had Resident Evil 4, which was the sort of action-y one.
Yeah.
And that feels like what they did again with 7 and Village, which is, for some people, is fine. That's what they're into. And I can imagine some people who were enjoying the return to survival horror in 7 were suddenly we've gone back again now to the action stuff. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with the 4 remake, actually, because apparently that's meant to be a lot darker and scarier than the original 4 turned out to be.
Did you see that they killed the dog?
Yeah, I did.
Why did they do that?
I know. And I didn't. I'm a bit annoyed that that was shown. I was saying this to Ben the other day in the office. I was like, oh yeah, I don't know if you've seen any of that gameplay that's come out of the new Resi 4, and I said they've revealed. I mean, they couldn't not, because it happens right at the start, and that's what's been revealed is like the first few minutes of the game. But like a moment that would have been a big gut punch right at the start. Like I'm kind of frustrated that I know that now. You know, if I'd like sat down, picked up the game for the first time.
I'm glad you did know that, and I didn't tell you that, because that would have been
it would
really
have been
bad.
yeah. Well, now people listening maybe will be really upset to hear that, but it's too late now. So yeah, like 5 minutes in, you'll sit down with the controller in hand. You're wandering through the forest, probably thinking, "Oh, this is a bit like gloomier and spookier than it was when I first played." And then you'll be like, "Oh, the dog's around here, isn't it? I'll free the dog from the trap." Oh no.
No, dog's already dead, mate.
No, it's just a corpse. So I wonder what will happen in the boss fight when the dog would normally come and rescue you. Probably nothing.
Nothing. The dog corpse will come and rescue you. Yeah.
Never mind.
Wow. I think it's time for something rather large.
Yeah.
It's time for the big discussion.
The big discussion.
This week's big discussion comes from Richard Major. Thanks, Richard. Bonjour again, bossaroos. Sony have released more details about the PSVR2. It will cost £529.99, that is, or bundled with the digital version of Horizon VR for £569.99. And the charger stand is £39.99. You can pre-order them from November 15th, and they'll be released in February 22 in 2023. What do you think? You're predominantly PlayStation boys or girls. Will you be buying one? And why don't Microsoft make one? Thanks, Richard. A total bossaroo babe. Thanks, Richard.
I won't be buying one. I didn't buy an original. Did you have a PSVR? I know you've had...
we've got a Oculus / Meta, but I refuse to call them Meta.
So I will not be buying one. That is a ridiculous price. It costs more than the console. I mean, I'm not arguing necessarily that the cost of production warrants that price. Like, I'm not necessarily going to say, oh, PlayStation, Sony being ridiculous, charging something like that for something that's so easy to make. You know, it's a VR headset. Maybe $529.99 is actually quite a small margin for them, and they're not going to be making a huge profit on that. But in any case, it's not worth enough to me to pay that much for what is, going off the first PSVR, not going to be a great library of games, at least to begin with. Will you be buying one?
I probably won't for that price. I've been looking into it a little bit, like technology-wise, and we have a Quest 2, which is kind of the most recent Meta thing.
Yeah.
And probably considered to be one of the better affordable VR headsets. You got like a bunch of other ones out there that are really quite expensive. But those are very much, if you want to do VR and you are taking it really, really seriously, they're the ones with like the sensors that you put up around. So it's like full hand tracking and movement stuff. But in terms of the Quest versus the PlayStation VR, Quest has an LCD screen. The new PlayStation VR has an OLED screen. It's got eye tracking, which is a really like exciting new development, and it's pretty good. The controllers have adaptive triggers like the PlayStation controller, which a lot of VR headsets don't have. But some of them don't even have hand like devices anyway. They just use your fingers. So that's not necessarily the best, like the only alternative. And it also has the 3D audio technology that they've used for their new headphones. So it should be a really immersive experience in the new PlayStation headset. However, for £569, including the game, plus the £500 you've paid for a PlayStation,
and £40 for a charging
station. And £40 for a charging station, you're looking at over £1,000 and a bit. Obviously, if you've got a VR headset that's PC based, if you want a decent gaming PC, that's probably going to cost you quite a bit of money. But the Quest 2, for as an example, costs £399, and that's like the most expensive it could get. You can definitely find them cheaper online. But even with that, you may be looking at potentially the lowest cost for a PC is maybe £1,000. So you're probably looking at being about the similar price range. However, there are so many more games that you can play on a PC-based headset.
Yeah.
And what I think Sony needs to do, and I've been saying this for a while when it comes to VR, is communicate with the other VR headset manufacturers and VR game makers that work exclusively on Steam and come up with some kind of deal that their PlayStation games will go onto like Steam and be available for Oculus users, and that those games that are currently available for Oculus users will be available for PlayStation users.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, there's just no way that they're going to sell enough of these headsets. Because a lot of people maybe don't have a PC and they might want to play Half-Life Alyx, for example, which is one of the, I say all the time, the best VR game. If you want to play that, you have to have a PC-based VR headset. It doesn't work very well on the Quest, so you need one that is wired in. So you might have to pay a bit more or go for an older version. But like a lot of the time, these games would work really well on the PlayStation VR headset. And I imagine a lot of people would play it because people who are fans of Half-Life might not have a PC, but they might have a PlayStation. So if they've shared their libraries between each other, then I think everyone would benefit. But I know that they won't do that.
Yeah.
They'll have the 11 games they're currently making that we know of for the PlayStation VR, including the Dark Pictures roller coaster game, which looks absolutely terrible, by the way.
Yeah, it does.
Awful. It looks like one of those arcade things you used to go to when you were younger, where you sit in a chair and like tosses you around and you're on like a minecart. That's what it reminds me of.
Well, there was one on the first PSVR. I think it was it Outlast? It was a game like that, and it was tied to an already known horror franchise, but had absolutely nothing to do with that. You know, and it's exactly the same thing, but it was a different franchise. So it was like you're on a little ghost train. I think it was Outlast, and now you're doing exactly the same thing. You're on a ghost train, but hey, it's Dark Pictures.
Yeah, Dr. Anal Hill's here now.
Sort of. I mean, it's has nothing to do with narrative-based, like, you know, decision-based gameplay. You're on a ghost train, but it's Dark Pictures. So
yeah, and I mean, the only games that I'm intrigued by / would want to play is the Horizon VR game and Resi 8 in VR.
Mm-hmm.
They're the only games that I would even consider buying a PlayStation VR 2 for. And I was considering buying it to replace my Rift S because I have an older headset now, and it would make more sense to upgrade to a new one. And if it was more affordable, I would have been straight on it and being like, yeah, I'm definitely going to get it.
Right.
But for £529 in this economy, I absolutely cannot justify spending money on it.
Yeah.
For potentially 2 games.
That's it for me. It's down to like library versus, you know, the price. So, you know, you've listed the features there. And as I said earlier, I don't think necessarily that like the price tag in and of itself is too much for the technology that they are selling. You know, that may well be justified in terms of numbers, but I can't justify spending £529 or £569 to potentially play only a couple of games.
Yeah.
One of which, you know, if you take Resident Evil as an example, I can already play, you know, on console with a controller. Yeah, it's a very different experience, but it's not even that there are kind of unique, interesting exclusives. Well, sorry, there are some, but I mean, those are 2 separate groups of, you know, there are games where you can already play them on your console, and then, yeah, all right, you can maybe try them with a VR experience. But if you put those aside, because at least those are available to you on other platforms or in other forms, it leaves you with an even smaller pool of VR exclusive games. And then, of course, as you say, you make a point with the PC tech. Like the library is just better there, and I think that is the issue here. I'm not going to spend that amount of money to have a piece of kit that I'm only going to play a handful of games on. I saw Ben do exactly the same thing. He bought PSVR and he played it for a year or 2, and then he put it in a box, and he never got it out again.
He only got it out recently to play Moss Book 2, and then it went straight back in the box on the shelf again. Yeah.
So it's a shame, because I think you're right. I think if there was a big shared library of games, or if Sony were able to tempt developers over to make more games for their VR, it would make it a lot more appealing. But just as things stand, I certainly can't justify it, and I think a lot of people can't.
I think the average consumer for games wouldn't be necessarily inclined to play a lot of VR games or buy a VR headset, because there is that whole thing of being like, well, I'm a console gamer, and in order to play good VR games, I need a PC. But there's lots of VR games that I'd be interested in playing, but I haven't got the facilities. Or vice versa, people who have VR headsets are like, well, man, I have a couple games I like to play. There's a couple games over there. And I don't think the VR industry is necessarily big enough and fruitful enough to justify that diversification of the customer. Like, I just don't think that a lot of games companies can justify being like, well, I'm only going to do it on PlayStation. I'll do an exclusive. Because a lot of the time, I don't think that they're going to get enough customers or make enough profit from it to justify doing that.
That's the thing. It's like catch-22 is, if you're a developer of VR games, you might think, well, I'm not going to develop for PlayStation because there aren't enough people playing VR over there. So why would I spend all that time and not get many sales? But maybe the reason people aren't playing VR on PlayStation is because the library's not big. So it's like a really difficult... how do you get beyond that? Because those are kind of opposing forces, really.
I also think that Sony would be like, well, if we don't have any exclusives, people will buy the cheaper headsets out elsewhere.
Well, yeah.
However, people are going to buy elsewhere anyway. And if you don't have enough good exclusives or enough games full stop, no one's going to buy a headset.
Yeah.
And also, like, a lot of their PlayStation VR 1 games are not going to be able to work on this headset because they have to be completely remodeled for a brand new set of technology that a lot of the time it's not going to work. So like a lot of VR games now, if you've got an old enough headset, you can't play most games on it anymore because they have to be upgraded and they have to be changed for new hardware. And unfortunately, not every, but the vast majority of the PlayStation VR 1 games will not work on the new headset for at least a while. I don't know if any of them will all go over at all, but for at least a while, a bunch of them won't be able to be like back compatibility.
Yeah.
So
yeah. To answer the other part of the question, I mean, I think we already have is what I was going to say. Like Richard Major asks, why don't Microsoft make one? And I think it's what you were saying to an extent, which is that I think Microsoft, they straddle the console and PC markets. And I think, I don't know, but I would suspect that maybe they have the opinion that, okay, console players, broadly speaking, probably think, well, I'm over here with my console. If I wanted VR, I would probably play on PC because it's a better experience over there. So I'm not really going to mix the two. I'm just going to play my console. And so I think Microsoft know that, well, it's sort of not much point making a headset for Xbox because you'll end up in this situation with PSVR, which I don't think is a situation you would want to be in personally. And so if they look at the other branch and think, well, what about our PC slice of the market? Well, you have the best offerings already on PC, so why would you want to try and compete with Oculus or something like that? So
yeah.
That is why I think Microsoft probably don't fancy getting involved, not at this stage anyway, even though they've got the money to potentially make, something that could almost rival Oculus, possibly. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely could. I think that, like you said, they have the funds to try it out. I mean, you've got, like, Valve have got their own headset. I think the issue is that because there are so many headsets by so many different companies, like Oculus, Pico, Valve, PlayStation, there's a HTC one as well, a HP one. Like, everyone is making their own headsets, but, like, they're not all in the competitive market on the way that, like, consoles are. Like, there's too many now, I would say. There's like an oversaturation of different types of headset. There's obviously the cheaper kind of headset and then the more, like, pricey kind. But for the most part, there's just so many different types. And a lot of the time, people don't talk about them. Like, people talk about the Oculus headset, talk about PlayStation VR headset. And unless you're really big on the Oculus scene, you're not going to be talking, or the VR scene, sorry. You're going to be talking about the Valve one or the HTC one or the HP one, because those may be the best ones, for technical wise, but for the vast majority of consumers, they're too expensive. And I think that Microsoft are kind of like, we don't need to make one. They're already made for us. If we want to make a VR game, we'll just make it so that people on PC can play with whatever VR headset they've got. Because we don't need to make one, because there's already enough out there, and our technology won't be any different than what everyone else is doing. Like I say, the technology isn't diverse enough now to justify having to make a new one. They'd have to really have some innovative stuff going on to justify bringing another VR headset to the market. PlayStation's main selling point for this VR headset is that you don't need to have a PC. You can just plug it into your PlayStation.
Yeah.
And admittedly, it's got good technology, but so has all the other ones. So that's their main selling point. And they would only really be competing with PlayStation if they were going to make a headset that connects to a console.
Yeah.
And they'd have to do something different than what the vast majority do.
And what's the good of having a headset that can work off your console and you don't need a PC for if there aren't that many appealing games for it? So, yeah.
Exactly.
I don't think it's a great move necessarily. I see why they even felt the need to do new VR because they'd done it on the previous platform, and I'm talking PlayStation now. And so, it seemed like a logical next step, but they need to worry about software now, and they need to think about games rather than the hardware. Sounds like a good bit of kit if you can justify the price. And at the moment, I don't think people can justify the price for something that they're not going to be able to play many games on. Yeah,
it's such a shame, man. People were really excited about this.
Yeah.
Me being one of them. And it's just such a big price tag for something that you already have had to pay £500 to be able to play anyway.
Yeah.
So
it stings.
It does sting. And the 40 quid extra for a charger stand.
Yeah.
Are you joking? I've already paid £529. I don't want to have to pay another 40 quid for something to put it on.
Cheeky.
Indeed.
But what do you think? Will you be paying $529.99 for that's in pounds, for a PSVR2? Will you be paying extra for a Horizon VR bundle? Will you be paying even more extra for a charging stand?
You want a charging stand?
Yeah.
It's lovely.
Would you, if Microsoft had their own PSVR style console plug-in for Xbox, would you buy one of those? What are your thoughts? Let us know.
Let us know in the comments below.
I'm going to tell you where you can find us all over the internet now.
If you wouldn't mind.
I won't mind. I don't mind at all. YouTube.com and twitch.tv/Team TripleJump. You can find all of our content on those channels. That's videos and live streams. When we are streaming on both YouTube and Twitch, we're modded by Lord Brotovich, Trailing Badger, and Mr. Black. Did you know, if you've got Amazon Prime, part of the bundle there is that you get a Twitch sub with it. So you can spend that on us and it won't cost you anything extra. You get all the normal benefits and so will we. So do it. Twitter.com and Facebook.com/Team TripleJump for video and live stream announcements, legacy video clips, re-uploaded, little sneak peeks and all kinds of things. Fraser is looking after you and us over there on Facebook and Twitter. There's also TikTok.com/@Team TripleJump for our TikTok, and Patreon.com/Team TripleJump. You can go over there and look at all the different tiers. At a minimum, you're able to ask questions on this podcast, and at a maximum, you can get signed games and stuff and video messages and a painting. Yeah. So, and loads of stuff in between. So go and have a look at those.
We have a website. It's triplej.map, triplej.mp. Spells jump. It's very clever. If you want to join our Discord and chat with our wonderful community, go to triplej.map/Discord. On Discord, we're modded by Jack, Joe, Tori, and Hollow Eyes. And if they told you to do something, bloody well do it. All right? If you want to listen to the podcast in its audio form, why not go to triplej.map/podcast. Catch up on one of our live stream VODs. You can go to triplej.map/VODs. And if you want to book a cameo from me, Peter, Ben, or James Jenkins, you can go to triplej.map/cameo. And if you want to buy some sick and cool merch, like these hoodies, or
no, not this.
Not that. Or the Is This Legs t-shirt, or the Ashton pin. Not this t-shirt either. Though maybe we should just sell this.
Remind me what it says.
It says,
count the basic parts a man needs to wear and reach 2'7". It's good.
It's really good.
And no one would come after us if we just recreated that.
No.
Maybe Ikea would.
Yeah. And follow @TripleJump Shop on Twitter and go to triplejumpshop.com to get up on the latest merch announcements. Me and Peter are on Instagram and Twitter at that Peter Austin and @ScrambledAshton. And Ben, he's not here right now, but you can follow him on Twitter @confused_dude if you feel like it.
Yeah. We do lists every flipping day of the week. Every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Not Friday, actually.
Or Saturday or Sunday.
Well, no, but I was talking the working week, but that's not even true either.
No.
But we do stream. Well, no, we don't actually stream every day of the week at the moment because I think we're now down to 4 streams a week.
Yeah.
For like
a little
while. Don't know when, but so we stream on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Thursday being the joint stream.
Blaze it.
On YouTube. Every other one being on Twitch. So Friday was James Jenkins, but James Jenkins is now doing Tuesdays, and Ben Potter is not doing Tuesdays. So there you go. Worst Games Ever fortnightly, Friday for patrons of a certain tier, Sunday for everyone else. The podcast is every Saturday, and we do shows all
the bloody time.
The bloody time. I imagine you probably said in the previous podcast, didn't you, about Main Menu? Has that been?
That was last week, yes.
It was last week. So, yeah, that's out. That's a show.
Leave us a review on your podcast platform of choice. Has something to do with Al Gore's rhythms. New merch. Tat Appeal is still open until the 18th of November. So do get stuff sent in. We are starting to get quite a few boxes now.
Yeah.
And the boxes are massive.
Yeah.
I think that the general size of box is way bigger than last year.
Yeah.
Again, if you can't send something in, don't feel bad. We know that like right now that things are pricey and shipping is really expensive. So if you can't, please don't feel bad. We know that it's like a real privilege to receive this stuff. So don't ever feel like you're left out because you're not sending us stuff. No. We'll even accept a letter.
Yeah.
If you want to write a letter, if that's something that you want to do, we will read it and we will enjoy it. Weirdest Games Ever week this week.
Yeah.
Isn't it, Peter?
It is. It's another sort of sexy one. Super Galdelic hour. It's very odd. It's really weird. We found it. I saw it posted. I saw the box posted on it might have been Cool Box Art or Weird Box Art. I follow like several box art accounts on Twitter. And I was like, what is this? This looks strange. And so I think I said to you, Ashton, what is like, can you look up this game?
Yeah, you sent it in like a group chat and I looked it up and I was like, this game is perfect.
And I
Weirdest Games
came up back because it was Ben to play and I was standing over your shoulder like looking at it on your screen. I was like, okay. So you do have to go and watch this one.
You do.
It's very good. And remember, if you're a patron of, I think Citation needed the $5 tier, you get that a week early. And Worst Games Ever 2 days early. So if you want early access to those shows, consider that if you like.
Yeah. Just one more quick time for the sponsor of this week's podcast, Peter. What was it, please?
Kratos just can't think of what to do for the next chapter of his novel.
Yeah.
But don't worry, God of War writer's block is coming soon.
So soon.
So soon.
On the 16th, maybe the 30th,
possibly
perhaps
the
30th.
30th. Yeah, who's to say? Yeah, I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah.
Good.
Thanks so much for listening / watching, everyone, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah. Bye.
Love you. Bye.